Hello and welcome to another session of AZMAT System tutorial. In this particular session, running Excel 2007 under Windows XP. So let's just have a quick look at that. Office button, Excel options, and resources. This is under, remember, it's Excel 2007. Different versions of Excel have different ways of knowing that. So in this particular 2007, that's how it's done. Excel options, resources tells you Microsoft Office Excel 2007, which is actually Excel version 12. If I click About, then here you can see again Office Excel 2007 12, version 12. And if you click the System Info, it'll tell you about the operating system, etc., and other things. So operating system name, OS name is Microsoft Windows XP Professional. Okay, does that, cancel that. So we are running Excel 2007 or Excel 12 under Windows XP. And in this particular session, we're going to go through the Excel AZMAT System X menu commands, just to show you what they are, this introduction to AZMAT System. Before we begin, we already have got the session open here because it was used in another tutorial, earlier one. If I show you here, I have the AZMAT model open there, and the user file open. These are the files or workbooks which are not hidden. Of course, there are other workbooks or files that are hidden. So in order to see, if you click this unhide window command, you'll see all these files are also open, but they are all hidden and you can unhide them. Some of them are protected, so you have to give a password. All these passwords will be supplied to you in your system when you get it. If you have AZMAT System, you'll have all the passwords. Right, so now we're going to go, we're going to do some of these commands, and to see, I'm just going to clear up some of this area, all this. These were calculations carried out in earlier demonstrations. So I'm just going to delete this whole area because they are just, so I can, and this one here as well. I'll leave that bit there, maybe that bit, but I'll clear all this. So these were all designed using this as an example where it is. I'll just use the add-in, as you know, all AZMAT System commands are, to use it in Excel 2007 onwards. So Excel 2007, 2010, 2016, you have to use the add-ins menu there, Excel add-ins menu, then you click that, then you get the AZMAT System menus. As you will see later on, you'll be defining your own menus, learning how to design your own menu, program your menu, add your own commands, and this particular menu and menu is for that. But for now, we're going to go through these commands on the X menu, is the Excel environment menu. Now, if I actually have a quick look at this, I'll open the ZR, open for view, I'll open for the zrgbp.xlx there, xlsx, just to see if it's been edited today. As you will see, it has been, but I'm just going to show you here. The last saved by AA, that's the initials I use, 26th of August. So this file has been edited today. If it had not been, AZMAT System will give a message saying, before you can use this file, this file has to be, some calculations have been carried out, have to be carried out by AZMAT System before it can be used in any calculations. So similarly, I'll also quick look at this, look at the ZRUSD, which I'll use here in a minute. So I'm going to go in here, menu, open curve for view, and I'll say USD. There, open it. And again, it has been calculated today. As you can see, US dollar curve, ZRUSD, 26th of August, is being edited today, earlier on, when we're doing another tutorial. Right, so I have these files open. I don't have to have them open in memory in order to use. I just wanted to show you that they have been updated. Before you can use any of the yield curve files, they have to be edited at least once a day. Not just at least once a day, you have to edit one, and before they can use it, before you can use it or anyone can use it. So if I just show you here, you actually do not have to open the rates edit is all these area here. File edit could be anything. You can add not only the rates, but also you can insert more rows or delete some rows if you want to. But you can also use the curve file calc. If you know you do not need to make any changes at all to the structure of the file or the prices here, then you could just simply say curve file calc, give the file name, and the Excel, not Excel, AZMAT System rather, will do all the required calculations, and that file, from then on, that particular currency reference curve will be ready for use on that day. Every day, those calculations have to be carried out. If you do not, don't have to worry about it, AZMAT System will tell you so. If that particular file has not been edited, and if you're using it, like in here, if I go to in here, I say, right, I want to use the ZRGBP in this case, which particularly you have to specify. If you don't specify, you have to give it a name. It'll ask in a dialog box. You have to give the file name, which has to be used, which particular currency, so on. So it will tell you at that point if it had not been edited. So for example, right now I'm just going to close these two. I don't particularly like to have files, unnecessary files, open if I am not going to use them. So add-ins to get the AZMAT System menu, and close current file, do not save changes. Let's close that. And the other one, note that I shouldn't use that on here because it's not my current file. I want to close it. I want to close this one, US dollar currency code. So that one as well, I'll say go ahead and close the current curve. This time use close current curve rather than close curve. Do not save any changes. That's why it's asking me, do I really want to go ahead, proceed with this command, or cancel to cancel the current command? For example, I can just say cancel the command because I may have used it by mistake. But if I use, instead of saying close current curve, if I use close current file to not save changes, it will just go ahead and close it. It will not ask me whether I really want to or not. There, done. So now you'll see we have only two files here, AA and the ASCII soft model file. I'll leave that one open for a while. We'll see why later on, perhaps. Okay, this file has been calculated today, so I do not need to, so I can actually start using it now. So this will be useful when we actually use some of these commands. So now the cash flow date area is here, CF date 1, CF date 2, and so on. And we have other cash flow date 4, cash flow date 3, and so on defined. So I'm using this. I can say I use the cash flow date 1. So if I just enter 1 there, it means CF date, the question mark is the number, 1 to 99. It means use CF date 1, which is this. If I highlight that, you can see from there to there, although this area is defined up to there, as soon as Excel will AZMAT system rather will go on checking one by one date. As soon as it comes across a blank cell on the date column, it will take that as the end of the cash flow date area. So you can define it longer if you like I have in this case. So I can add more dates if I wanted to in here. So that's the idea. The CF date 2, if you see, it's up to there. If I go down, I think it's somewhere up here, maybe. Not try one more. You can hold the shift key and then click there. There. So CF date 2 is from there to there. Note this date falls afterwards, so it will not affect this. CF date is from there to there, but because effectively these cells are blank, it will stop at that point. I take that as CF date 2. Right. So right now, CF date 1, I'm saying use that. And so if you go on to this X menu, we'll begin here. First one here, we have in the X menu, present value. Now, I'm not going to go into the definition of each of these in this particular session. We will go into those present value, yield, present value, internal rate of return, Macaulay's duration, and so on, all these kind of factors, what they are, what they mean, all in later on in more advanced course where you have the investment banking calculations course. This particular course is simply Introduction to AZMAT System. I just want to go through the actual commands, what they are, and how you will be using them. So the first one here is present value. So basically, it means calculate present value. So you're going to calculate present value depending on which cash flow. Cash flow is here. You have specified by giving a number here. If you don't specify anything here, then it will ask for you to specify. So we'll just go through very briefly first the actual menu and then go into detail each command. So if I want to see what's here behind, either click there, click there, then the menu goes off, and I click here somewhere away from there, and this whole sheet is available, worksheet area, visible. Right, so first one here, X menu, Excel environment menu. Sorry, just before I actually go through it, let me just do one thing here. Save AZMAT data file. The reason is because then it actually enters the date and the time. If you have an AZ date time area, which could be two cells here, either next to each other, adjacent that way, or adjacent top and bottom there. Yeah. That could be as a date time, or this way as a date time. We have that in any file, basically AZMAT system will use, but particularly in the AZMAT data file, if you put that, every time you use save AZMAT data file, it will actually enter the date and time when the file was saved. So then I know it was saved at 5:57 a.m. on 26th of August 2017. Right, so the first command here, we go back here onto X menu, present value. And if you actually use Control V, then it enters the calculated value in the current cell. Second one is yield. This one is Control Y, enters the calculated value in the current cell. Present value and yield. If you use Control B for both, basically, it'll enter calculated present value and yield in the current cells. Two cells have to be selected. I could use either two cells like that, top and bottom, or two cells left and right. So go back here. Internal rate of return is Control I, and enters that in the current cell if you use Control R. Macaulay's duration, we use Control M for mother, enters Macaulay's duration, single discount rate calculation in current cell. You'll know this later on, what they are, what it means, all that later on. For now, just going through briefly the actual commands. Check dates for holidays. Any dates in the specified date list falling on a holiday are replaced. So if there are some days, for example, here, Saturday or Sunday, it will replace it to the following Monday. So here, for example, I have in discount factor dates, one, if we put it here, it will avoid Saturday, Sunday. And the other things here later on, days to avoid, we'll go into more detail later on. And the last command in X menu here, discount factors. If you use Control D for discount factor, enters discount factors in current cells and below. So, discount factors here. So if you have the here, it'll enter the maturity date automatically, and then the actual discount factors, depending on the number of which discount factors you have specified. For example, here, mid and bid. M for mid, B for bid. So 2 discount factors plus the actual date. So you'll have 3 columns, like so, depending on the number of dates. Like here, discount factor date 1, just that, or 2, you have only 4 rows. This will have 6, 7 rows, because that's what I have, 7 rows. Okay, let's now go through each of these commands. So the first one, Control V, present value. So if I just hold my, in fact, I'm going to use it here. I'll leave it there because present value PV present value will be entered here, the result. As well as here, if I use the command Control V, right? Cash flow date 1, it will use cash flow date 1 because which is CF date question mark means number 1 to 99. CF date 1, by putting a 1 there, it means CF date 1. Use this cash flow to calculate the present value. And if I use Control V, it means enter the result here and in there. Doesn't have to be right next to each other. I could have it anywhere. Say there. So if I press Control V now, V for Victor or value, like in this case, I'm telling AZMAT System to use CF date 1 cash flow there and enter the result in the current cell as well as present value here. Right? So see what happens. And use the currency reference rates curve called ZRGBP.XLSX. Note this curve has to be you have to carry out, as we said briefly, we went through this. Either you have to carry out a race edit, file edit, or curve file calc. Curve file calc does not open it and present it to the user. It simply carries out calculations on that, assumes that the user has decided that you do not need to make any changes to the prices or rates or the whole file, any file structure. So you can use, it's quicker to use curve file calc. But one of these three commands, that, or that, must be carried out on every single rates file that you want to use in calculations. Okay, so we will go back to the X menu here. I can just say, if I use present value there, it will calculate the result, calculate the present value using the ZRGBP curve file, using the cash flow date 1 because I had 1 here behind 1 there, CF date 1. So use those cash flows, use this curve, and enter the result in here. If I use the present value from the menu. But if I say Control V, put my cursor anywhere, but I'm putting it here so we can see at least what's happening. And it will enter the result here and there. So let's do that. Control V. This is opening files on this machine is slow compared with the latest machines because this is an old machine and which has Excel 2007, 2003, 2010, and also Excel 7, fairly old machine. But I'm using that in order to show you that AZMAT System can run in different versions of Excel and it's using Windows XP. But on the later machines, as you'll see in other tutorials where I'm using Windows 10 on a very, very fast machine, this result is presented literally in 1 second or just over a second. In fact, some of these commands I actually had to slow down. We'll go through this when later on go through the programming to actually slow down in order to make sure that the program file the program doesn't run too fast, because then it would miss out certain calculations. I actually has to slow the program down. But we'll go through that when we actually go to the programming part of it, which will be much, much later, not in these sessions. So as you can see here, it's entered the present value here because that's where I had my cursor, and entered the same in here. The only difference is here is showing me to 2 decimals, here up to 3, because here I wanted it to show that. And this is determine how many decimals shown by the number of the width available in this particular column. If I'd use that one here, it will actually show me more decimal places than 2, because this column is, I think, is wider. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. If this column, if I, for example, had entered it in here, in this column, much wider, then you'll see more decimal places. That's all. It's not wrong or anything. So that was Control V. Enter the Control V, so enter the present value in your current cell, wherever it is. You know, it can be out here somewhere, anywhere. And it will enter it in here as well, in the AZ parameters area. However, if I actually don't use the control command and use this command only from the menu, so same command, what I'm going to do, I'm going to change, in order to make a different value, obviously, is if I use the same, it will just be here, we won't see much, although it will calculate again and that. So let's change the cash flow. I'll change it to say use cash flow 2, which means it will use this one. Again, here I've defined it up to here, I think, there, C update 2, but it will stop at this point because there is no date in here. It's a blank cell. So if you have a blank cell, it will stop there. So it will use that actually as the C update. It's completely different values here. So the present value will be very different. Reason this one is 137,000, negative 100, there's a minus 137,183.693, because if you notice the C update one has minus 1 million, then it's 999,191 plus, and then these other negative values. So the present value will be different as here. Whereas for this one, it's a 0 there, it's all positive. So it will be different as well. It will definitely be different to this value, which is the same as that. So this time I'm not going to use Control V. Instead, I'm going to use from X menu, just the present value command. So if I use that menu command, it will not enter it in the current cell. So if I put my cursor somewhere here, for example, cursor is here, and the result will be placed only here, not in my current cell. Okay, let's see. The value was here, that's the same as that. To see that it will be different, has to be different because the cash flow is completely different, although it's the same currency. I could actually have changed just the currency maybe and kept the cash flow. Again, it would be different, but not drastically as this would be, because the cash flow is completely different. Okay, let's go and say use the from add-ins X menu, and I say present value. It'll calculate using the cash flow date 2, because that's what I've just specified. That curve, same curve as the one before, but enters the result only here, not in the current cell, if I use a menu command. So present value And again, it's slower because it's using an older machine and there. And the reason this is highlighted is just to show you that that was the cash flow date, CF date 2 area it has used. And as you can see, this is plus, there's no negative, it's plus 137,320.6812, which is different to 137 negative, minus 137 and 183. It was this present value using these cash flows is plus 137,320.6812. Okay, let's have a quick read through this present value. So what it does is Control V enters calculated present value in the current cell. This command calculates the present value using the following parameters: curve, cash flow, PV method, present value method, the calculation method, yield basis, and yield frequency. Just using these parameters. The curve means the curve file. Present value method, PV method, is, sorry, that's not the one, PV method is here. B, bid price. The yield basis, you see here, and the yield frequency. The first one is 4. Again, we'll go through these, what they are, why, what's the difference, and all that in a later tutorials. Right now, you just need to know that what it is, the actual number. It can be 0 to 4 yield basis, and yield frequency can be A for annual, S for semi-annual, Q for quarterly, or you can use a number, those letters A, S, Q, or 1 to 7. And again, we'll go through the why we actually use what we use. The other thing is cash flow. The other parameters I'm using is the cash flow. So it's using the curve, that's the curve file. The present value method, PV method is bid. It could be all, bid, offer, mid, and it's a special one, P or V. But in this case, B, I'm using the PV method is bid 1, yield basis, and the yield basis is 0 to 4, so in this case is 4. And again, the difference between those we will go through in other sessions. Right now, we just go through this particular command. Cash flows, in this case we set number 2, so it means cash flow date 2. And it effectively with that all the CF date 2 is defined up to here. Sorry, up to there. CF date 2. Then we have the calculation method, which is this one, 1 or 2. Later on, what the difference is and so on. And the yield frequencies is here. Yield basis was there, and yield frequency there. I think what we will do is actually just have a quick, rather than go through the menu, because it will take a very, very long time. And this session, what I'm going to do is do some quick calculations for now, rather than going to the menu, which will really be very, very long session. So let's just have a quick, we've done the calculate present value. Let me just now do the yield. Remember, yield is here. Nothing is here right now. Again, I'll say put it somewhere, I don't know, here, say, for example, and I'll use Control Y. So it'll put the result here and here. Click Control Y, using the same cash flow, see update to same currency. So we'll enter the yield here. So Control Y. So let me show my cursor is here, or if it's easier to see, I'll put it on the last bit of yellow. Control Y, and it'll enter the yield there and here. So Control Y. Remember, my cursor was here, there. So the result is there, 4.527, and so on. Here we got it up to 5 decimal places. Here we got 3, 6, 8 decimal places. Only 8 because this column is, there's enough room to display. So it uses the maximum it can use. Here I've specified it to display only up to 5 decimal places. That is Control Y. Now, instead of that, now what I'm going to use is change the cash flow to number 1, which is there. And this time, so it says cash flow date 1, use it. And this time I'm going to say, remember that yield is the same there, using this C update 2. Now I'm going to use just the menu command. So the result will be placed here. It will not place in my, say I keep the cursor here, for example. So the result will not go there, it'll only go in here, yield. So I go through add-ins, X menu, and Y. I'm not going to use Control Y, I'm just going to use the yield command, means calculate the yield. So the result will go here only, not here, as far as yield is concerned. But it will also do another calculation, which we'll see. Keep an eye on these 2 cells. There. So it's done the yield is minus 4.34. It's not here anymore, which wherever I had the cursor, I didn't put it there because there. But you may have noticed, or may not, the actual yield, sorry, the present value is here. Now, because I had kept the same cash flow date, we didn't notice any difference. Let me show you now. I'm going to change the cash flow date to number 2. And so keep an eye on this. Yeah, minus 4.34393. So do the calculations without, again, I'm not going to use Control Y. I'm just going to use the menu command from the X menu. So I've changed the cash flow to use the cash flow date. So it must change, the yield will be different. X. So it was minus 4.34, remember? Different cash flow, 3.7 plus 4.52, and so on. You may have noticed that the present value is same. Now, let's do another thing here. I'm going to make sure that you see the difference again. Let's use a completely Well, we use actually, let's use US dollar curve, USD. If I just enter USD, I'm telling AZMAT System to use ZR USD.XLSX file. I'll keep the cash flow same, see update to use this and see, use the, let's actually do that here. I'm selecting those two so I can see directly compare the yield, the present value and yield. So I'll say Control B, B for both, and enter the result there, those two cells and here. So Control B now, and using US dollar curve, remember it should be very different to these two. Not very different, my apologies. The yield is different here. US dollar, as you can see, slightly. No, it's not actually, it's exactly the same here because I've used the cash flow date one because there's a very, very slight difference in the settlement. The 2 days in the US dollar whereas the GBP is a spot on same day. Okay, let's use the same different cash flow date one. And this time I'm going to use the menu command. So I leave these two for reference, for example. So cash flow date one. Cash flow date one. This is what it's going to use. Right. This is from there to there. Effective there because this is blank. All the CF date one is defined as up to here. Up to one row above rather. There. CF date one. That's my CF date one. But because there's nothing here, it will stop effectively at that point. So that will be the effective cash flow date one area. I'm going to use the menu command, Control B, not the Control B, because Control B will enter. If let's just show you, it doesn't do that. Only if I use Control B, it will enter the result there as well as in here. If I use just the menu command, it will enter result only in here. So let's just actually take it off completely to show you that it does that, do that. So I'll have it here anyway, but it doesn't matter. The fact that I have selected the two cells. If I use only the menu command, it will enter the result only here and here, present value and yield. Right, present value and yield. Use the US dollar curve and the cash flow date one. I think I have it behind this. If I see that, I can't see that here. There, cash flow date one. So use these cash flows. Use the US dollar curve. That's what I'm telling AZMAT System. So I go here, present value and yield. Enter the result, present value and yield. There. So cash flow date one, because it's all negative, you can see that minus 1 million and all that is higher than the positive 999,000. So the result has to be negative. Present value will be negative, and so on. That's what it is there. And the yield is also very different. Okay, the next one here, I'm actually going to see internal rate of return. Now, this is an interesting point here. let me just, I'm just going to calculate it first and then explain to you what it is and why that is so. Duration, yield, IRR, internal rate of return when present value is 0. Note that. So I'll leave this present value here as it is, and I'm going to say in the yield is 4.86. Let's just copy this. Copy this here, both of those. I'm going to copy temporarily so you can see. Actually, if I just copy it underneath here, right? So I'm copying it here, there, to keep a record of it. Later on, I'll delete this. So this is what I have here currently. I said using cash flow 1, which is here. And the reason negative, as you can see, is minus 1 million, minus all these. And this is positive. So the negative is higher, so it will be negative. Whereas here, they're all positive. So the result was positive. Not to worry. For now, using cash flow date 1 area, that. And I'm going to say, I don't have to have cursor there. I can have cursor anywhere. I'm going to say internal rate of return. I'm not going to use Control I, in which case it'll enter the result there, but just to enter it here and see what happens here and there. Add-ins, X, internal rate of return. Note what happens here, these two columns, there. See, it's entered 0 there in the present value and entered the actual, the yield. What it is when you say IRR, internal rate of return, is when PV is equal to 0. So AZMAT system enters 0 here, whatever the present value was there. Just to remind you that the yield percent is the yield when the present value is 0, then the yield is called internal rate of return. Okay, let's now go and put the original one back again, say, copy that. I'm going to actually select that and paste. I can use paste because I have the format is the same, or I'll just use paste value. No, sorry, not paste formatting, but paste value. Sorry, paste value and values only. Right, so keeping the original format, I don't particularly want to copy. I had copied it there, but I want to keep it there. Right, now I'm going to use here, say these two cells, and I'm going to use the exact same command. And I'm going to say Control I, rather than going by menu, add in X menu, and then saying internal rate of return, rather than using that. If I did that, it'll enter the result both here, these two columns, and in my current cells. But if I have just the Control I, it'll enter the result in these two cells and here. If I use the add-ins, X menu command, internal rate of return, it will only enter the results here. Ignore whatever I've selected or not. Okay. So I'm going to come out of this command and use Control I. So I want to see the results there and there. And the result will be very different as you saw before. So Control I, just show you here, internal rate of return there, right? That's what it is. So if I use Control I, I'm using two cells. See what happens, and I'll use one cell. Control I. Ah, my fault. Use one cell. Control I. Now, what these hashes mean is this particular value, as you can see, it's entered the 0 date, all that, but ignore that. That is because this particular cell here, the format is I have here is not, I probably have either the date or something. Let me just now change this format to a number, say like this one from here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, copy that in here. That's the paste formatting there. I've just pasted the format of that here. Before when we saw, so I'm going to cancel it by pressing escape key. See, still in the copy mode. The reason we had this 0, 0 is that because I probably had a date here so that it was using that format. And under the date format, of course, it doesn't make any sense. It's all gobbledygook for it, minus, of course, as well. So it is showing that. Now, as you can see here, minus 0.16216 minus 0.162155576, showing all so many decimal places because this column is that wide. This column is also wide, but I've specifically stated here, formatted this column to show only up to 5 decimal places, because that's more than sufficient to see the yield. So the internal rate of return is yield when present value is 0, PV is 0. Now notice I'd used the command Control I, with 2 cells selected. And AZMAT System didn't do anything because internal rate of return is just one value. So it's expect you to enter, to select only one cell because there's only one. It's not like Control B when you have 2 values, present value and yield to enter. So that's why there was nothing done. Okay, we've gone through that. I'm also now going to go through, let's see, the next command, Macaulay's duration. And that one is, enters Macaulay's duration in the current cell. Again, there's only one result value. So if I enter, I'm going to leave it like this first. Leave this cell selected. Doesn't mean anything. It's not going to put result there. I'm asking it to calculate and duration here in years. So Macaulay's duration, it should go here, and nothing will go here because I'm not going to use Control M for mother. Right? I'm just going to use the Macaulay's duration command. there. Again, as you can see here, is so high, completely doesn't make sense based on these current, all these other parameters I've used here. So you have to have that particular, the number is a very, very, very large number. And that's why it won't fit in. And that's why it's got hashes there. Hashes just mean that it's completely, if you actually count it here, duration is in years, remember. And if you're using the inappropriate values, you will get inappropriate result. And this result in years is, if I can just simply see here, 3, I'll have to keep it here and count it, 3, 6, 8, 3, 6, 9, 3, 12, 12 values there, completely out of round. So I'm going to actually press delete, take it out. It's meaningless in this particular context. Now, why that is so, I'll have to go through in later sessions, explain to you what they are. But Macaulay's duration will be entered here. If I use Control M, it will enter both in the current cell and in there. The next one is check dates for holidays. So let's say we enter, I'm going to actually, we did this in another tutorial, but we'll actually, I'm just looking for a holiday date. Can't find it, so I'm going to enter it here. For example, I'm going to change this. I'll put it back here to Thursday, 28th of February, but here I'm going to change this date to, I was going to change it to Saturday by increasing to 2 days. But of course, there's no 30th of February. So let's go in here, change it. Let's change this one. So instead of 31st of August, which is a Monday, I'm going to change it to, let's change it to 29th, which is Saturday. 29th, Saturday. And another one here, this is 29th, which is Thursday, but I'm going to change this to, if I actually change it to Saturday or Sunday, it's going to change the following Monday. But I don't want to change my original. So what I'll do, first thing I'm going to do is actually undo that and copy these dates somewhere so I can then replace them. So undo that, back to the original. So I'm going to say, for example, these 3, copy, this is temporary, just so I have a record of it here. Keep it here. Then later on, I'll put them back. So in here, I'm going to change now to, instead of 29th of August, I will make it Saturday, 31st of August. That's a Saturday, and this one I'll change it back. Maybe put it to 30th, Sunday. Okay, so I have a holiday. I have a Saturday there, I have a Sunday there. Note the original days are here still, which I'll later on put them back. So I wanted to calculate the, I'm telling AZMAT System to check for holidays in this area here. Check dates for holidays. Okay. So basically telling it to remove any weekends. So Saturday will change to Monday, and this Sunday will change to Monday as well. Okay, right, let's see what happens here. Check days for holiday. So It's just telling me that the AZMAT system is checked to ensure that none of the days in the highlighted area fall on a holiday, replacing any days which do. Is this okay? Press OK to proceed or press cancel to cancel the command. So if I didn't actually want to do, I could cancel the command right now by clicking cancel. So if I want to proceed, I'll go back there, check days for holiday. So yes, I do want to proceed, and I click OK. Note this last but two and last one are on holiday, Saturday, Sunday. OK, change, Monday. Has checked all cells. So this is changed to Monday because it was Saturday. This Sunday is changed to Monday. I'll replace the original dates as they were. Note that this one, 28th of February, Friday, did not change, none of the others either. So these ones I want to change. There, back to original, and remove that, take it out. So that's what the check dates for holidays does. Last one is discount factors. It enters the discount factors in the current cells and below. So if I enter, so here, for example, DF date 1, DF date result, rather, I should be looking, DF date result from this worksheet, if I specify a different worksheet, if I had, or in here, I can actually DF result. So if I enter 1 here, so it should enter the result. If I look at it here, I'm not sure I have here. DF result 1, right? I have here already defined. So it will use, if I say DF date result 1, DF date, DF result from this worksheet, from this workbook, and if I enter 1 here, I'm telling AZMAT system to enter the results in DF result 1 from this worksheet, from this workbook, which is the current one here anyway. So I'll have that. DF res 1. So I could have pointed out, but by putting that, I've put the same. I'm saying it right for this cash flow, which is the CF date 1. Actually use the DF date 1, because if I don't enter the DF date, if it's 100, if I enter 1299, then it will use that particular DF date. But if I have it 100 here, it means use the CF date. So if CF date 1, so 100 here means use the CF date 1 dates, which are here, and to enter the result here. That is because DF result 1 is shown there. Okay, having done that, I'm actually now going to, so I don't have to have this cell there. I could have the cell anywhere. Let's put it there. So Excel menu here, I'm saying discount factors. Keeping cursor here deliberately because I don't want result actually has to go there. I'm not using Control D, remember. So discount factors, and I've got mid and bid because I've got two columns there, MB. So you'll enter the date, which will be the same there, enter the mid, and then the bid discount factors there. AZMAT System will enter discount factor results in 7 rows by 3 columns. Selected the area and saying that's where replacing any data. If I had any data here, I could say, oh yes, cancel the command and then use it. In this case, I have nothing there. So say yes, go ahead, do that. There, it's done. So we've got the maturity dates are the same as CF date here. Notice that in discount factor, I'm not using the format of the date is different. I don't have to use the day as well all the time everywhere. I'm using just the day, month, year. I know it's not the American date system, which is month, day, and year, but we are in this particular session I'm running in UK. So I'm using the UK date system, which is day, month, year. So normally you'll notice in AZMAT System, I use this format where it's actually all of the days here, but the month is in letters. So it's crystal clear. That is 30th of August, even though it's the day is written before that month. Sorry, not the date. Date is here, Wednesday. Okay, this one is actually, so there's the day, date, month, year, mid, bid, because MB I have here. If I see this here, discount factor methods MB. So M is for mid, B is for bid. So that's what discount factor, what they are and how it is, we'll go through in later sessions. So I think I'm going to just stop this tutorial right now. It's getting fairly late, for me anyway. I started this here around 5:50. Then I used this 5:57, I saved this file. So I'm going to use the U, so it was 5:57 when I last saved. Let's see, U menu, save as newsletter file, because it's going to enter the current date and time. Right, 6:50. So it is around 1 hour long, this tutorial. I think it's long enough for this particular purpose. And I'll stop right now and we'll go through the actual, all these commands in Excel, X menu later on. We've gone briefly, we went through each one, what they are, actual demonstration of the command. So when the next time we actually do the X menu, we'll go through that, not actually do any calculations, just go through the command, what it is. It's quite comprehensive, so it'll take a long time, so we'll do that in a different session. Okay, so let's now, I'm going to stop this tutorial and see you in another session.